Everybody is asking why the receivers didn't have a single catch against Notre Dame. And it goes much, much deeper than just the Notre Dame game, or really just one game in particular for that matter. So this is going to be transparent. It is going to be factual. And we only deal with facts over here at Behind the Wall. You guys best believe that. So let's go back. If you have been watching me since week 3, 4, I said if we do not establish a number one wide receiver, we will not be able to win those big games. And we didn't. We didn't really need the wide receivers to step up against Boise State or SMU because we were just flat out better than those teams, really. When it came down to the games where we needed them, they didn't really show up. So the fans are saying, what the hell? No catches? What's going on, right? My response, how is that any different than the games the entire season? The wide receivers were never truly a part of any game plan for really any game. So the game plan was Tyler Warren and the run game. And as it should have been, you have a borderline elite run game, a young offensive line, and shout out to that group and Philip Troutwine. They did a fantastic job. So borderline elite there with two great running backs. And then you have one of the greatest players to ever play at Penn State in Tyler Warren. So I don't blame Andy Kotelnicki at all for going that route of scheming around his best players, because the wide receivers were not the best players. I admit that. But this goes so much deeper than the 2024 season or even just Andy Kotelnicki. So this brings me over to the fact that the lack of wide receiver production at Penn State has compounded over the years. Yes, years. Not just one game, not just one season, years. So I said facts and stats, right? Here they are. Receptions by Penn State wide receivers from the year 2021 to the year 2024. Okay? In 2021, Penn State wide receivers had 200 catches. In 2022, the Penn State wide receivers had 160 catches. In 23, they had 127 catches. And then in 24, they had 102 catches. Wide receiver production has been cut in half for Penn State wide receivers from 2021 until 2024. So you might say, Landon, that's because our run game gets way more carries and it takes away from the passing game. Okay, well, let's take a look at how much we were passing in total over those 4 years. So this gives more a holistic view of running backs, tight ends, everybody involved. In 2021, we had 291 total completions. In 22, we had 270 total completions. In 23, we had 246 total completions, so dips down pretty significantly there. But then 24, this past season, 262 total completions in general, everybody on the offense. So from 21 to 24, that is just a 10% drop-off in the passing game. So yes, we ran the ball a little bit more, 10% more. But the wide receiver production has been cut in half, 50% over 4 years, but the passing game production has only been cut by 10% in 4 years. That is drastic. There is an obvious trend here at Penn State. We slowly alienated our wide receivers, and that in turn kills recruiting for Penn State wide receivers because you have no leg to stand on and say, hey, we're doing X, Y, Z. For example, Philip Troutwine has many legs to stand on. Olu Fashanu, Juice Scruggs, Rasheed Walker, everything that he came in, he took a room of offensive line. I mean, if you've been around, I don't mean to make this about the offensive line, but they were the laughing stock. They were the punching bag for Penn State. And Trout came in and redid the entire room. We changed the culture of that room. And guess what? Now he's raking in 5-star recruits and high talented guys. And it's because he is producing and the recruits can see that. It is the opposite for the wide receivers. It's a downward trajectory. So I have a personal story about this. Dante Thornton, he's a wide receiver that plays for Tennessee. He was at Oregon before transferring to Tennessee. So Dante and I played against each other in high school. He's from Maryland as well, and in All-American games. He was actually the first commit in the 2021 class for Penn State. This was back in 2019. He was committed for like 8 months, right? And he decommitted. I talked to him and his dad, and I was the main recruiter of the 21 class. Like every class has one. It's kind of like the top guy in the class, but the guy that brings everybody together. You make the group chats, you do all that stuff. Nick Dawkins was that guy in 2020. And so every class has one. So I talked to Dante and his dad, and they both say, we don't feel that Dante can be elite here. We don't think the opportunity is there for him to do it at wide receiver because we really haven't seen it. So Dante's career has not been that good. So if you're going to search up Dante Thornton to try to, make a point, yes, it hasn't been that good, but that is besides the point. He was borderline a 5-star wide receiver, and he and his family felt that there was no opportunity to be an elite wide receiver here at Penn State. So let's get back into the mental side for a second for the wide receivers, because we just showed through stats and through facts that PSU's wide receivers are being slowly taken out of the game plan year by year, game by game. So you don't scheme the wide receivers into the game plan. What happens? The first thing that happens, wide receivers become unmotivated. At the end of the day, wide receivers, they're inherently selfish. They kind of have to be at their position. Think about how cocky DBs and wide receivers are, and think of any great wide receiver. You go back to Michael Irving, all the way now to Justin Jefferson. You say, those guys are incredibly cocky, but they're confident, and they trust their ability to go make a play, and that's how you have to be. So our wide receivers, they become unmotivated because they're not getting the ball. So what happens when you have no motivation? You lose confidence. So let's talk about the trickle-down effect of losing confidence. Wide receivers lose confidence and are unmotivated, so they give up on routes. They don't run the routes as hard. They don't really care to block. And guess who gets affected most by that? Drew Aller. So now Drew Aller is dealing with wide receivers, which, yes, I admit, part of the issue is that we need to be better at wide receiver in general. Because Ohio State, Oregon, the guys that play for them, Tez Johnson, Emeka Egbuka, Jeremiah Smith, all those guys, Evan Smith at Oregon, our wide receivers cannot hold a candle to those guys. I recognize that. So that is part of the problem. We will get to that in the solution piece of this. I'm not blind to that fact, but I will say this. I think Trey Wallace could be a number one wide receiver at a lot of places, and he should. He was that this year. He was our number one, but he should have been utilized a lot more. When we target him, good things seem to have happened. I know Ohio State play happened, but overall, Trey was incredibly reliable, especially over the middle on those deep dig routes. It felt like Drew always found him, and it kind of worked out. But back to Drew. Drew's now throwing to unmotivated, not confident wide receivers, right? Guess what that does? That in turn kills Drew Aller's confidence and his confidence to be able to throw to these wide receivers. So when I'm up here and I say, hey, I need these wide receivers to go up and make a play for Drew. Well, guess what the problem is? The wide receivers have no confidence in their ability, and then Drew has no confidence in his wide receivers to go make that play for him. So you see how this is cumulative and it has compounded for years, games, all of that stuff. And I'll tell you guys, trust me, as a former player, if you do not have any confidence when you are playing this ultra competitive, masculine environment, you're not going to make it. You can pack your bags because you will not be successful. You have to have elite mindset. Talk about Abdul Carter and his mindset. He became Darth Vader. This dude became Darth Vader for a week, and he went out with a single arm and wreaked havoc on the game. When I talk about mindset, Abdul's, I was talking about being cocky. Of course Abdul Carter's cocky because he's great. But guess what else he has? Just loads of confidence that we do not have at wide receiver. So how do we fix this? Here at Behind the Wall, we always give the problem, but we're going to give the solution too every single time. The first thing is Tyler Warren is now gone. That is a lot of targets to really redistribute it now. There's an opportunity there. Luke Reynolds and Andrew Rappleyea and Khalil Dinkins, they're all good. I think actually Luke Reynolds is going to be a star, but none of them are going to command the targets and touches that Tyler Warren really got, okay? So the other thing that's out too is the Tyler Warren quarterback package. That's even more plays added into the mix that we can take advantage of and try to get the wide receivers involved. The next thing, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I'm pretty confident that Katron Allen and Nick Singleton will both not be back in the blue and white. Who knows what happens? I just don't think they will both be here for whatever number of reasons you want to talk about. So now We can kind of have a true RB1. Now, there's a lot of guys that should play, but we have a true RB1, and we won't have a situation where we feel like we have to feed two guys the same and they need 25, 30 carries a game between the two of them. No, it's more like you got a running back that you try to get 15 to 20, sprinkle in some Cam Wallace, couple other guys, but there's not that need to say we got to get them the ball. And look, we're still going to run the ball because this has been something that we've done at Penn State for ages. And it's not going to change. So we're still going to run the ball. Last thing, you need to go out to fix this. Last thing is you need to go out and buy yourself a true wide receiver one. I'm talking length. I'm talking speed. Spend $1.5 million. And yes, if you just clutched your pearls, you just grabbed your purse, you said, oh my God, 1.5, that is what it takes. Elite speed and a really talented wide receiver, they garner a lot of money. But I'll give you this example. It's like buying the two blue spaces in Monopoly right before you hit Go, Boardwalk, and Park Place. It costs a ton of money to buy them. And when you land on it, you're like, oh, do I want to make this purchase yet? Especially if it's early game Monopoly. And you're like, do I want to buy this yet? And then you do it, and you get a couple houses, hotels down, and someone lands on that spot, and boy, you get paid. You're living a good life. Same thing with wide receivers. That wallet might hurt a little bit. Doling out 1.5, go over to that donor and ask him for that money. It's going to hurt. Use that favor. But guess what? When that wide receiver takes a slant 75 yards to the crib, you'll be feeling a little bit better, just like you do when they finally land on Park Place and you're collecting their entire bank. So the main problem with that last one and what I discussed earlier, big-time wide receivers will not come here until they see production. So you have to start producing. It doesn't matter. I said, you can offer 1.5, but everybody's offering 1.5, all the top schools. So a receiver's not going to just come somewhere for a ton of money, even because if they're looking at it and they say, hey, you guys haven't had a wide receiver produce, I don't care if you're going to pay me 1.5. I'm not going to come to somewhere that my career could possibly get ruined and it hasn't really worked out for anybody else. So you have to start producing from the wide receiver position and get mediocre level guys involved to then say, hey, we're doing a good job getting our guys involved. We just need an elite guy to take us to the next level. That is how you're able to go out and recruit and get the top guys. But you can't do that until you start getting mediocre level guys involved with the football, because a elite guy, like I said, it honestly doesn't even matter how much money you're going to offer them. They have to see the result of getting your wide receivers involved in your entire offense. So that's on the coaches to handle. They need to figure that out. Kodo Nicky, all that type of stuff. I gave a couple solutions, but I'm sure he's finding some more ways. This was the full rundown on Penn State's wide receiver situation that has been compounding since Drew Aller was still at his homecoming dance. This is not all on him. This goes back deep, even before Andy Kotonicki. This is a Penn State problem as a whole that we need all hands on deck to fix it. Please like, comment, subscribe, guys. If you subscribe, it really helps me a lot. I've been blowing up. It helped me get this awesome studio. I finally got a new laptop, too. The one I had before this, it would crash during film breakdowns. It sucked. It was the worst. I had to restart. So I'm already starting to upgrade my stuff, and I think you guys can see me able to kind of take my stuff to the next level. So please make sure you subscribe. It really does help me. Film breakdown will be posted tomorrow. I had to push it. Because I wanted to make this video. I felt it was incredibly important to put this out there because it is the truth. It is factual. And I feel like you guys needed to know. So film breakdown posted tomorrow afternoon, Monday night, 5 p.m. We're going to do a live show here on YouTube. I'm going to have live callers call in, and we're going to be able to put the film up on the TV for you guys. And so you come in and say, hey, why did Drew Aller miss this pass? And I could say, hey, let's pull up the all 22 film and show you right here, right now, live. I am really excited for that one. That's Monday, 5 p.m. Stay ready for that. Man, I want to let you guys know, too, I am now covering all things college football. So I am one and done on the Penn State beat 1 year. I had so much fun, great memories this year. I'm so thankful for how you guys supported me through my retirement. I talked about this on the last episode. I didn't know what the hell I was going to do with my life. I was going into my NFL year, essentially, and it all came crumbling down. I've pivoted, and you guys supported me like no other, so I will never forget you. And don't worry, I'm not saying I'm not doing Penn State football content. I am just leaning into college football. I will still do Penn State. It's just not only going to be Penn State. There'll still be a lot of cool stuff with the athletes, making content, showing you guys behind the scenes, our coaches, former players, athletes, all that good stuff. It is all still coming. So don't worry, just not covering Penn State for FIU and Villanova next year. So we'll have some fun. I will also answer all your questions. I will be staying in State College. This is my home. This is the community that gave me everything. I'm going to be starting my own charity. We're doing food drives, toy drives, charity golf tournaments. I'm going to be getting involved with the kids, the YMCA, elementary schools, all of that. I have plans to greatly impact this place that had the biggest impact on me. And I feel like if this happened to me at any other school, I would not be where I'm sitting. I'm forever thankful to all the coaches, administration. They paid off the rest of my tuition. I mean, all of that. They didn't have to do that. And all the support from business owners, alumni, fans, you name it. I love you guys so much. I will never stop. We're going to keep turning this up another notch. And I will see you guys for the film breakdown tomorrow. Much love. Peace.